Hi, it's Joy, and today I'm going to be watching House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 9, The Green Council. This is the penultimate episode, and that title makes me feel like it's going to be a scenario where the king is dead and they haven't announced it, and they're like doing a little council to try and work out the succession. And I'm pretty sure after the last episode, how it ended, with Alicent hearing bits of the prophecy and not understanding what the fuck her husband was talking about, is going to assume, understandably so, that on his deathbed the king changed his mind about the succession and wanted Aegon to rule. Which, when it comes into line with the fact that that's already kind of, despite the oath and everything, that's what the rest of Westeros would just generally prefer. Not talking about the specific people, just talking about the patriarchy and the fact that with the Great Council, when they could have had Rhaenys and instead they picked Viserys, the patrilineal way seems to be the way that they are doing this thing. It's gonna be a mess because we just had the dinner. I say the beautiful dinner. It obviously wasn't entirely beautiful, but there was those real moments where you felt like we could have actually just been a family, a dysfunctional freaking family, but a family. And even like with Alicent, saying to Rhaenyra, "Oh, you can't go. You've only just come," and her saying, "Oh, I'll come back on Dragonback." Like, there was that real moment where you kind of felt like maybe these two sides, these two women in particular, could begin to heal the breach. Now, obviously, there's always the kind of succession drama regardless. I definitely think Alicent is fighting for Aegon to be king because it is the right thing. It is his right. They live in a world where the custom in Westeros, even if it's not in law, is for men to inherit. As I've said before, this is loosely based, not very loosely, it's based on medieval English history, a lot of the Game of Thrones Westerosi stuff, and as I've said thousands of times, it was in my lifetime, our lifetime collectively watching this, that they changed the law to allow girls to inherit above younger brothers in England. The monarchy abolished it, but that was literally in our lifetime that was changed. That is how ingrained in society this concept was. So back in Westeros, as much as we as a modern audience are like, why shouldn't a girl be queen? She's the eldest child, for one, and she seems like a very capable, intelligent, smart woman, and although she's willing to make bad decisions like murdering servants, she's also, got a compassionate and good side, and I think we could all see that if anyone is going to be queen, she would be really good at it. And then you look at Aegon, who is a rapist little shit, you don't want him to be king. And I think, in general, she is fighting for her son to be king because it is his right, because it is kind of the custom and it is the right thing to do. And as much as you can say, oh, she's got a cloak of righteousness, it doesn't matter. She tries to do the right thing. She doesn't always succeed, but that is her goal going forwards in everything. And also I think that there will be a part of Alicent that is like, if I gave my life to this old man, I had his children, and for what? For nothing. I'm going to put my son on the throne. I think there's definitely an element of that. Plus, I think as much as she doesn't want to believe, and no one would want to believe, Rhaenyra would kill her children, I also think she knows that there is a very real chance it could happen, especially with Rhaenyra married to someone like Daemon, or, just kind of, you begin to worry. I think especially when they were young, what happened was she began to look at Rhaenyra and to think, do I even know her? If she's willing to do X, Y, Z, will she then kill my children? It was all kind of a mess. And there weren't totally pure motives on either side. But my point I'm trying to get to is, I think in the last episode, we really found Alicent at the point where, as much as she's been trying to do her duty, I think she just was really realising just what a shit person her son was. How she didn't want him to be king. She thought he'd be a terrible king, and maybe Rhaenyra would be a much better queen. And maybe in that moment there would have been, if Viserys had just lived a bit longer, maybe there could have been time for them to heal the breach, to have the conversation we wanted them to have 20 years ago, 15 years ago. So much time has passed in this show, I don't know. But way back when I've been harking on, if only they could have had a real conversation back then. Maybe they could have had it now, and things could have been different. But instead, Viserys died, and on his deathbed started talking about how Aegon and the prince who will unite the lands, and Alicent, knowing nothing about the prophecy, is of course going to think, oh, you really want our son to be king? Well, as is right, I don't think she is someone who would disregard the king's deathbed wish as much as I might want her to. That is all purely conjecture from the Green Council and my history. I love history. My knowledge of how often throughout history king's deaths were not announced until the powerful people in the realm had put the succession, and if there was going to be a regency council or whatever, they'd sorted the law out for themselves, and then they'd be like, by the way, the king died 3 days ago. I'm pretty sure when Henry VIII died, his own children weren't even told until after the council had sorted out who would be Lord Protector. I am rambling. I doubt anyone's actually listened to this. I'm so excited. I'm freaking stressed for this show. Reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon, and let's go. Throne is empty for now. Overall, Viserys was not a bad man or a bad king, although him taking a wife of a girl who was his daughter's best friend is still creepy. And he should have done a lot more to keep his family united and to secure the succession, and not just state it and assume no one would ever question him or question Rhaenyra if she didn't act the way they expected her to. He knows what Westeros is. Also, I found out, George R. R. Martin talked about it, Alicent and Viserys have a third son who's just casually in Old Town all this time. She was married to him for a very long time.
Tell me. My handmaiden Talia.
She's doing her nails again.
Servants. He told me you wish for Aegon to be king.
This is so cleverly done, because I have no idea. I imagine in the book it will be said, she claimed on his deathbed the king said her son should be king, and Rhaenyra will claim that's a lie just to put her son on the throne, because obviously deathbed confessions, you can make them, you can come out and be like, yeah, the king just said actually I should be his heir. But I think they did it so cleverly because she truly does think that's what he said. She truly believes that's what she heard him say, and will fight for that, right? I imagine, because not only is it her kid, sure, yeah, she doesn't like the man, but like, it's her husband, the king's dying wishes, and the king gets to decide his heir. And yet we as the audience are just like, oh, serious? Why did you not just think those thoughts? News is getting out. The question is if the brothel owner is still in touch with Daemon, or if she's an independent woman.
For Viserys the Peaceful,
That's good.
our sovereign. With his last breath, he impressed upon the
No one would
Queen's
ever
final
believe
wish
it wasn't just
that
Alicent
his
scheming,
son
but it's not. It's what she thinks she
should
heard.
succeed him as Lord of the Seven Kingdoms.
Because that's exactly what they would say House Hightower would claim.
Proceed now with the full assurance of his blessing on our long-laid plans.
Yes,
Long laid.
there is much to be done, as we've previously discussed.
Oof.
There are two among the captains
Fuck.
of the City Watch that remain loyal. Let ravens be sent to our
Alicent does not appear to have known about this.
Members of the small council have been planning secretly to install my son without me.
My queen.
Mm-hmm.
There was no need to...
Fealty to the
That was some
princess.
20 years ago. Most of them now dead.
You heard
I
the
love how they're doing this.
The king changed it.
The boy's mother is a witness. This is seizure. This is theft.
That is what people will believe, but it's what... They've just done this so well, and it's so painful to watch in so many ways, because Alicent doesn't think she's lying. She thinks that that's exactly what he did say, and it kills me.
Reason that he died of his own accord.
Which of us are you accusing of regicide, Lord?
Jesus
Whether it was
Christ.
one of you or all of you, I care not. I will have no part.
Fucking hell. Cole needs to go. I know that they probably are going to keep him around because, like, he's one of the most loyal people that they have. And I also completely get that, like, he didn't mean to smack his head against a rock. He has anger issues, but he didn't... And there wasn't really any need to use force on that old man. But Jesus Christ, this is getting from bad to worse, and you can definitely see how, after this, people will assume they are all involved and that they are all evil tyrants who are stealing the throne. There will no doubt be rumours that Alicent poisoned the king and claimed these lies, yet she didn't. She didn't even know they were scheming. I mean, she might have had suspicions, but she didn't know that they had, like, absolute schemes set in place that were going to, like, let's just put the plans into action. She had no clue. Just like in the previous episode when Rhaenyra and Daemon arrived and there was no one to greet them, and it looked like an insult from the queen and everybody. It was literally just Otto. Alicent is not the evil scheming bitch people want to make her out to be. And is she perfect? Hell no. Just like Rhaenyra isn't perfect. And I will defend them both, but I only really need to defend Alicent because everyone loves Rhaenyra.
I will not suffer insults to her grace the queen.
There was no insult to me, Sacris. You put aside your blade.
De-escalating?
What of Rhaenyra?
The former heir cannot, of course, be allowed to remain free and draw support to her claim.
Exactly what you said she'd
You
do.
to imprison her. The king did not wish for the murder of his daughter.
Exactly.
He loved her. I will not have you deny this.
And yet,
One more word, and I will have you removed from this chamber and sent to the wall.
There is no good way out of this.
Take your knights to Dragonstone. Be quick and be clean.
To do what? Yeah. To kill them or to bring them into imprisonment? Fuck, Cole's gonna become Lord Commander, isn't he?
Not here.
He's not in his room.
Little shit. He can't be king. You're doing what you think the king wants. Both of them were in the Lost Kingdom, just saying.
None can know who you are or what you seek, including the Queen.
my lord.
It's keeping
Bring
things.
him to me and me alone, Sir Eric.
Also, Otto is such an interesting figure. Like, I think when we first met him, I kind of liked him, and I thought, like, up until he ordered his daughter to go and comfort the king, because I felt like the words he said in the council and everything, he truly was caring about the greater realm. And maybe there is a part of him that thinks Rhaenyra as a girl will, I mean, a woman now, but back then, will cause division because there'll always be men who wouldn't submit to her, etc., etc. But he's also now very much a man about his own power, using everybody around him. Oof. Fucking
What's the
hell.
meaning of this?
Jesus Christ, Otto. This is all Otto. What are they doing? I mean, what is Otto doing? I love the way he's like, he talks to Alicent as though he's going to include her as his equal and as though he's going to value her opinion, and then he just doesn't.
Aegon must be found, and he must be brought to me. The very
Who's going to find him first?
His tastes are known to be less discriminating.
Jesus Christ.
My best to your friend.
He was definitely not the one-eyed prince.
You'll not leave this room without declaring your intention.
Otto. He's going for it.
I will not bend the knee.
He's trying to squash any civil war before it can possibly happen, but this is not going to do that.
Anyone else?
Keeps its sworn oath to the princess.
She's a woman in power, standing up for another. Jesus Christ, Otto. Thing is, they've broken their one oath. Who's to say they won't break it back?
He could be dead. Let us hope for your mother's sake that is not the case.
For Aemon's sake, though. They pick him over the little boys. If they're boys. I have no idea the gender of Aegon and Helena's children. Jesus Christ.
Aegon spends many a night in this place.
Fucking hell.
He is.
Uh-huh.
I've not seen everything. Aegon, one of many I'd wager.
Jesus Christ. There will be a lot of people with Targaryen blood still alive nowadays, just not from the right side of the sheets. I mean, I do not believe Aegon should be king, but I totally get why Alicent thinks it's Viserys' last wish and everything. And, you know, in a way as well, protecting Aegon protects Helena, protects the grandchildren, protects Aemond, you know, the children she does like.
Enthralling the city. The younger brother who studies history and philosophy. It is I who trains with the sword, who rides the largest dragon in the world. It is I who should be...
Yep. Yep, he bent the knee, but he has no intention of... I mean, we could just say Aegon was never heard of again. Jesus Christ.
He was fleeing from the gate.
For illegal.
Warning for the princess I'd wait.
What say you?
For illegal transference of power, Otto, you are acting like you're committing a coup. And I fully get that you were prepared to commit a coup.
King's justice take him.
Jesus Christ. This is bold.
You did well.
There's no reason those hours could not, in the end, benefit you.
Fucking hell. Men. Power. The things it does to us. Love the way they're telling the story because I say no one, namely the two women who are at the centre of it, Alicent and Rhaenyra, neither are evil, neither are wrong, neither are bad. They are just in this situation and they're making the choices they think are best, making the choices they think are right, in all the different ways it leads them. As much as she didn't want to marry him, they spent a lot of time together. Companionable. Father of her children, kept them all safe while he was alive. There was maybe hope for another way forward, or he could have said his wishes to someone else.
And you're usurping the throne. It was my husband's dying wish. Believe it or no, it is of no consequence.
Alicent does believe it.
Your son cuckolded.
The game is
Rhaenyra
played.
dares are none of yours. Here we are.
Woman to woman.
Rule, but we may guide the men that do. Gently. Away from violence and sure destruction, and instead toward peace. It's in the name of peace that you've imprisoned me. If it's Driftmark you want, you shall have it. For you and your granddaughters to pass on as you see fit.
She's coming here and laying all the cards out.
And yet you toil still in service to men.
Mm-hmm.
Your father, your husband, your son.
She is
Desire not
trapped.
to be free, but to make a wind. Imagined yourself on the Iron Throne.
Jesus Christ. Sure we all have, every now and then. Otto and the Hightowers are going for it, but I thought that conversation he treated, Rhaenys with respect, and she didn't try to be like, we've locked you up for no good reason, it's all fine,
I want an end to the savage use of children in Fleabottom.
I mean, yes. Agreed. Respect to this lady.
There is no power but what the people allow you to take.
She is extremely wise.
I will remember.
He may well try and kill you at some point, but the least he could fucking do is stop children being used in fighting pits. What is does he not, what is happening? Does he know they want him to be king? Does he not want to be? Yep. We could fake another death, maybe using a body from the morgue rather than using, nice little Targaryen scene being made here.
And sail away, never to be found.
The Queen awaits.
Yep. At least Egon knows he's a piece of shit who shouldn't be king.
None of this is a game.
And yet you treat it as one.
Oh my god, this man.
A charming contact. We've relied on one another these many years, and now it is the good of the family that...
You have never relied on her, you have used her.
Oh, our hearts were never one. I see that now.
Alison.
Rather, I've been a piece that you moved about the board.
Yeah.
If that is true, then I made you Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Would you have desired it otherwise?
She would have liked your love.
I wanted whatever you impressed upon me to want.
Mm-hmm.
A sacrifice made for the stability of the realm. No king
You can try and tell yourself that. You know that there is a blood price that's not...
Reluctance to murder is not a weakness.
Exactly.
If she lives, her allies will mass behind her banners, looking for her return.
Not return.
Is Alicent gonna, by doing the right thing, I mean, in Alicent's eyes, she fucking believes her husband wanted Aegon on the throne. By choosing to stop her father trying to sneak and kill Rhaenyra, which I don't even know if that would have succeeded, but suppose it did, and Rhaenyra and the prince is gone, no more. The throne would have been 100% secure and none of the rest of this drama would have happened. But is Alicent trying to do the right thing and trying to be a good person, trying to go about this in the best way possible, given that it's a shit situation, going to be the thing that actually causes all the war and everything? Because...
My husband would have desired this mercy be shown to his daughter.
Your husband? Or you, his daughter's childhood companion?
Fucking both of them. She's not a monster.
Kristen Cole will be named Lord Commander of the King's Guard.
That is really her
My
biggest
son will be anointed
weakness.
tomorrow at dawn.
I'm proud of you, Alison, for trying to do the right thing. Oh my god. Men.
Is one way to destroy his advantage. It must be taken out.
Alison.
If you wish it.
Jeez. Look, wait a couple of years, then we'll fake Egon's death using an already dead body. She's picking at her nails again.
With me, Princess. I cannot let this treachery stand.
Oof. Oof. Egon is a piece of shit. I agree. Jesus Christ. Otto, what are you doing? What crime are you claiming he committed? Is she dead? I mean, I'm guessing that Alison ordered it, which obviously we don't support. But at the end of the day, she took out somebody who was a spy master with a web of spies. She was not informed, and maybe she could have done more, that she was trying to advocate for children's rights or whatever. She just knew that someone was spying on her family, and you take out spies that are threats to your family. I mean, it's Westeros. I don't like any murders, putting it out there, but that murder is better than the murder of the random servant man in episode whenever it was to cover up Laenor's death. These characters are all bad people. Everyone's being shepherded to see Aegon's crowning. I mean, I'm sure if you just announced the crowning, people would come quite willingly.
He changed his mind.
Wow.
Alison believes it.
He could have, but he never did.
With his final breath, he whispered to me that you should take his place for the throne.
People are always going to say she lied. She doesn't think she did.
Do not toy with me, Mother.
I speak the truth.
Is it going to change his outlook on the world if he thinks his dad loved him? Still a rapist piece of shit.
The hand will try to impress on. She's your sister, you're your father's daughter.
Do you love me?
I mean, like last week I told you you weren't my son. But I do love you, twin. What did she say? Because I mean, like, you can love your kid and think they're a shit person.
You imbecile.
Yes. You're her son. You don't get to choose our kids. Like, you're going to see, I mean, a really lovely occasion. I know we're making it seem like we're going to drag you into a square and kill you all, but it's actually nice. I hope.
He whispered his final wish that his firstborn son...
This is so reminiscent to me of Lady Jane Grey's scenario. Jane Grey was also an innocent in all that, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. When they tried to say, oh, Edward wanted it to go to her, not to Mary. And, yeah, didn't end well.
Aegon should succeed him.
First test, how do the people take it? To them, a boy taking the throne probably seems justice. As ridiculous as it is. Is he gonna believe Alison, because Alison believed it, that his father did want him to be king? And will it change anything about how he composes himself, how he carries himself? Gotta look not uncertain, young man. I don't like you. And I never will. But the people need to see a confident king. What is he going to be like when the ultimate power is his? For all the men. So it should be his, and he would be a better king.
Let the seven bear witness. Aegon Targaryen
He sees his own rise to power.
to the Iron Throne.
It's done. I mean, especially if, like, the Sept and everyone did it. If Rhaenyra kills him, then she can claim it, I suppose. Holy fucking shit. It's just murder some innocent people, why don't we, Rhaenys? Yes, let's just murder the innocent people that were forced to be here. That proves a real point. Good job. She wants to protect her children. She could have wiped them out. Alicent was ready to die in front of her family. Well, I'm really glad you made a big entrance and murdered some innocent townsfolk. Did a brilliant job, Rhaenys. Fucking hell. The web this show weaves, I continue to absolutely love it. Because yet again, both sides are shit. Both sides are terrible people, and that's very, very accurate of nobles throughout history. In it for themselves and terrible people. My favourite part of this episode was Alicent, kind of after Rhaenys said to her, you're still doing what men want you to do. Alicent taking a step back and being like, Father, you have used me, we're doing this my way now. Because I respect her. I do not think anybody in this show is perfectly good. I do not think anybody in this show is perfectly bad. I also respect Rhaenyra. She just wasn't in this episode, so I've not really got anything about her to discuss. I thought just the kind of... She loved her husband, not in the way you would want to love a husband, not in the way you would dream of as a young girl, that she's pretty dreamt of, I'd marry a handsome young lord and we'll have a castle somewhere and everything will be nice. But they lived together for a very long time. They had 4 children together. She cared for him through his illnesses. That sort of companionship will grow. And the last thing she wants is for Rhaenyra to die. I think she meant it when she said, you'll be a good queen, Rhaenyra. But in her mind, her husband's dying words to her were, Aegon will be Aegon, the prince who will unite us. How else is she supposed to interpret that when she does not know about the prophecy? That is one thing with keeping your prophecy a big secret. When other people hear bits of it, they're going to misunderstand. And it just breaks my heart because we were so close to a potential peace. We were so close to a potential way through this mess. Again, I don't know whether that peace would have been tangible, whether it would have worked out, but maybe something could have been arranged. So, this episode, a lot happened. I think in this episode we got kind of the best indication of Alicent's love for her children. You know, at the end there, she didn't try to run away and leave them. She was standing front and centre to protect them. Like, yes, we have seen more warmth between Rhaenyra and her children, but I also think the scenarios and the situations in which those children... First of all, those children were from 2 love marriages by her uncle. Second, that she was able to raise them in a position where she was the ultimate one in power and control. And, like, it's just very different scenarios, very different mental headspaces as well when you're with your children. But I think... you could see that she cares for Helena, even though Helena says these crazy things. Well, did she say there's a beast below, and is that, like, the ending? And Aemond, you know, yes, he has a nasty streak to him, but I think he would be a better king than Aegon. I think he seems to actually care about doing the job. Now, I don't know any of these characters as well as I imagine we will do. But Alicent is truly a woman who I think we've seen here. This is kind of the point where she's beginning fully to make her own decisions. Be they good, be they bad. Yes, she has made some along the way, but I think she's trying now to wield her own path, to find a solution that makes everybody happy. I mean, her solution of trying to offer terms to Rhaenyra, where Rhaenyra never comes back to King's Landing, but she gets to be Queen of Dragons. Like, I don't know what terms Rhaenyra could possibly ever accept. It's not like Rhaenyra and Alicent as girls used to talk and Rhaenyra used to be like, I don't want to be queen. Though she did used to say, all I want to do is ride away with you on a dragon. When she was younger, she didn't particularly care. But when she was given the responsibility, she took it very seriously. Obviously, Rhaenyra was never going to be like, oh, my brother's crowned, cool with that. To be honest, there is that part of me that thinks Rhaenyra should just be cool with that. The part of me that feels like her eldest children are bastards. Technically speaking, her next sort of children are also bastards because Laenor's still alive. Maybe just, if you don't have quite as big a role in the country, it doesn't matter so much that your children are bastards. but I also know Rhaenyra, and she believes it is her right to be queen, both because she's the eldest child and because it was Viserys' wish. She was not there, and if she had been, she could have said, "Oh, Alicent, no, there's a prophecy, that's what he was saying." But, you know, I love the fact that we get to see it, that Alicent is not lying when she says, "Oh, on his deathbed the king changed his mind." You know, throughout history people have tried to claim that. I'm pretty sure they said, "Oh no, Edward VI, yeah, he didn't want his sisters to inherit. No, he wanted Jane Grey to inherit." And you don't believe them. You think, what a load of rubbish. But we truly do not know. But I love that we see Alicent hearing what she truly believes to be a change of heart, a support for Aegon, and taking that with her. And from the very beginning, having people say, "Oh, you're clearly lying." "Oh, from the boy's mother's the only one that heard it." "Oh, of course it's a lie." But to her it isn't. To her it is the truth. She wants to stand by Viserys' wishes, and potentially after that last night and everything, maybe she would have stood by Rhaenyra. It would have been interesting in a way to see what she would have done would she have supported Rhaenyra? Would her priority have been trying to get a reassurance from Rhaenyra that her children were safe? Otto obviously was already planning the coup. The key, I think, people have to remember is things like the snub when Rhaenyra and Daemon arrived last episode was Otto. In this episode, he had not been including Alicent in these plans. Because he, as much as he tries to, we're equals, we're of a mind, we do this together. She is just a pawn that he positions as he wants. And you know, him saying like, "Well, I made you queen, what else could you have wanted? A simple, happy life where my children's lives weren't in danger because of the succession. Actually, father. A father that loved me and didn't view me as a pawn." So going forward, Alicent is going to be doing her best to be making her own decisions, but at the same time, it's a very, very stressful situation right now because they have usurped the throne. Now, they have, in Alicent's mind, legally usurped the throne, but regardless, Rhaenyra is going to see it as a usurpation and going to fight. They have more dragons, so we have a bigger dragon. It's just so interesting, the tangled web of succession, and there are examples throughout history. This is obviously a fantasy version, an exaggerated and embellished version of said disputes. And you know, things like locking Rhaenys up, locking up the servants so no word can get out, locking up, or telling the nobles that if you do not support our claim, you will die. It's pretty extreme. There's not really any legality behind that I can think of beyond the fact that, like, if you get enough of the kingdom on your side, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. But usurpers throughout history have, well, I say traditionally not done well, but some of them have. I think a lot of them, it's more after the fact usurpers have done a bit better than on the deathbed. Otto started off as a man who I truly, when he was giving counsel in the first episode, even the first couple of episodes, his only real issue that I had, and it was a huge issue, was him getting his daughter to marry into the family. But even when he was deposed of being the Hand, he hadn't really done anything that wrong. Like, he just reported back accurate information about Rhaenyra to the king. He had kind of suggested the marriage between Aegon and Rhaenyra, but he hadn't really been pushing his claim yet. I think he was going to wait until Aegon got older to try and be like, "Isn't that boy kingly? Oh, he's got a kingly look about him." But in this episode, you really see that ruthless side come out, and it's the same ruthless side that told his child daughter to comfort the king. It is that same man who has got his eye on more and more power and does not care who he hurts in the process. And his plans are to send knights to just go and murder Rhaenyra's family. Now, yeah, you know what? Maybe there would have been a lot less bloodshed if he had just gone and done that. They didn't care about murdering a random servant to get their ends met, but I respect Alicent so much for saying, no, like, we will find a peaceful way through this. That is not what my husband would have wanted and what I want. I just don't think there is a peaceful way through this, unfortunately. Maybe it was naive of her, but I'm never going to criticise or hate somebody for not wanting to kill. Now, the decision that we have to assume, given that although actually no. Did Otto kill her? Because obviously we had the really creepy scene with creepy old, what's-his-face, the beetle, I don't know, and Alicent. And we never saw her say, yes, kill her. Now, if Alicent did say, yes, kill her, she was saying, didn't even her, kill them. Yes, kill the person who is spying on my family, who is sharing secrets that should not be shared, who is putting the realm and the peace at risk. It's kind of, by Westerosi standards, it's not, I personally, I'm like, could have handled that differently, but I get it. in more than I get a random servant being murdered so that Laenor's death could be faked. Or people being killed by falling rubble when a giant dragon appears. None of them are good. But I think there's also a chance it was Otto, because when Otto was like, I'll remember you, I don't think he meant that in like, yes, your request is perfectly reasonable. We should stop children fighting in fight clubs. I will stop that. I mean, respect to her. Now, I'm not entirely confident she's going to be dead. I think she's very clever. We didn't see her die like we saw the Strongs die in the fire, so maybe, also it being a fire again, that is very much his MO. Regardless, I can understand why Alicent would have said yes, and I do think it would have weighed on her. Now, maybe the more murders she orders, the less it will. Just Aemond is such, like, I think the Greens are for me such rich and interesting characters. So are the Blacks. Don't get me wrong. I hate Aegon, and I will never like him because he's a rapist piece of shit. But I thought it was very interesting the fact that he did not want to be king and he was trying to hide and run away, and you know. I think Aemond kind of would have, if only I could just get you on a fucking ship and say, oh, he died, I'm king now. But I think out of the brothers, Aemond would be better. Yes, he has a cruel streak, but I mean, so does it's Westeros. No one's nice. But Aegon, how is he? I'm very intrigued. I'm kind of scared to see what he's going to be like as king. Obviously, he's going to be facing a challenge to his rule instantly, civil war, the Dance of the Dragons, it's all going to happen. But when, you know, him saying to Alicent, like, oh, my father didn't want me to be king, he had 20 years to name me, like, everyone in the world, like, the minute he was born, everyone expected him to be named as the heir, and he just wasn't. And so, my father doesn't like me, he didn't like me. And then, for him to hear that on his deathbed, his father did choose him, and I think that moment when he said, like, you're not lying to me, right? Like, he did, I think he believed her. Believed that she believed it, at least, and, you know, he believed her. And for him to think both his parents do love him, because they do. Alicent might just be like, how the fuck have I raised you? I hate you. But I think to a degree you love your child regardless. You just maybe like them less than you could. I wonder if it will change his attitude and bearing if he thinks he actually does have the support of his parents and not that he's just a useless piece of shit. I don't know, but I am scared of what he's going to be like as king, especially if his claim is disputed, which he will be. And Aemond, resentful of his brother, but also kind of loyal to his family. It's just a very interesting dynamic, and Helena just doing her best, having prophecies, living her life, trying not to put up with Aegon. God help her. Sorry, the Seven help her. Just the Green Council at the beginning, that meeting. I felt a bit bad for Alicent when the dude that got killed was like, everyone here is plotting treason. She clearly wasn't, because she's been like, you didn't tell me. Now, I do not like Kristen Cole, and I never will, ever since he smashed that man's head in. Do not like him. And the same way that I do not like Daemon ever since he smashed his wife's head in. As a character, that is obviously a different story with all of these people, and they have their likeable qualities. I mean, Cole, maybe that he's loyal, if I'm going to give him something. I do not like the man. I think he's a believable character to have existed. I think he is somebody that clothes himself in a cloak of self-righteousness and then does not act that way. Now, I think he didn't mean to kill the old man. He was just trying to shove him into his seat. He didn't really need to. He was just an old man shooting his mouth off. He wasn't going to fight you. But that was definitely like, immediately we've got blood. Cole can fuck off, but he's got even more power now. I can understand why Alicent kind of keeps him around or doesn't. I mean, in general, that was an accident second time. He is fiercely loyal, and he is fiercely loyal to her specifically in a time when there is hardly anybody out there who actually is loyal to her. So I hope Cole dies. But I understand why Alicent kind of makes deals with the devil. In the form of Cole. Though Rhaenyra has also married someone who killed his own wife, so swings and roundabouts. These people are not good people, but I love them. I'm trying to have like an ordered thought process of this, and I just do not. I love the fact that Otto had this whole plan in place to immediately usurp the throne from Rhaenyra, whether it was legal or not. Now, I think he does believe Alicent when Alicent says that the king wished this, and if anything, to him that is a gift. Now, obviously, people will say it was a lie. I imagine, in the book itself, it may even be like, she claimed this, she was lying. Who knows? But no one but Alicent would know whether or not it was said, and she fucking does think it was. It's just such an interesting kind. after the last episode, everything, it's just too good. It's too, the weave, like, this is kind of miscommunication or misunderstandings and people trying to do the right thing, done in a way that makes sense to the time period, fictional time period, and people. I loved the scene between Alicent and Rhaenys. I felt like it really was two women talking straight with each other. I do think Rhaenys saw Alicent in a new light, but I also... Oh wow, Rhaenys is just so interesting. Like, first of all, they aren't her grand... I mean, I suppose they are Targaryens. They're not white-haired, but they have Rhaenyra's blood, which makes the boys Targaryens enough for you if you're a Targaryen purist. They just don't have any Valyrian blood, but then obviously neither does Rhaenys. And she gets her granddaughter as queen. With this, she doesn't get that at all. I respect Alicent for just the way she dealt with her, the way she kind of just said the truth, laid it out. These are the facts of the situation. But Rhaenys is playing a very different game, and maybe there's a part of her that kind of feels like she was hard done out of the crown, so she's going to try and stop another woman being hard done out of the crown. I am intrigued to hear more about why she has chosen this. But I think it kind of was inevitable. That's why they locked her up, because it was inevitable she would choose to go back to Rhaenyra. And I get her trying to make a point, interrupting the coronation, but she knew that that room was packed to the brim with innocent civilians, and she did it anyway. They will be dead, there will be life-changing injuries, there will just... the pain and suffering she caused with that dragon, I don't understand. Like, yeah, it looked cool. And yes, she made the point, like, at the end threatened she could have wiped out the Green faction in a breath. But she killed so many people to do it. Rhaenys, what the fuck were you thinking? I did think she was going to try and get her dragon and fly away, and maybe she would fly over. Maybe she would try and set fire to the building, or although I think it's like a holy building, so she didn't really care breaking the floor. You know, maybe she would kind of... I thought she would make a show of defiance in that moment when she ran off in particular. I wondered particularly if she might start a chant of Rhaenyra as the queen or something, but like, I get her making a show of defiance and allying with Rhaenyra, 100%. But she just killed so many people. And I'm struggling. I'm struggling with a lot of the murders that are happening at the moment. But that one, just to me, like, it didn't need to happen. She could have just been outside and there were enough people. If they heard a dragon roaring, they would turn around and be like, there's a dragon. She could have flown in the doors and, like, been over the people or something. There were other ways. Even Otto was like, let the people out. Let the dragon out. And that moment at the end when Alicent stood in front of her children and was like, I will die with them. I will protect them until the end. That is a mother. That is love. Whatever else is happening, however complicated the situation is, it does just come down to two women who want the best for themselves and their children. My brain is in overload because this show is so good, and that's why it frustrates me so much when anybody tries to paint either side as wholly good or wholly evil, because neither side is. You know, I despise Aegon. He's a racist piece of shit. Sure, he's got some qualities that will make him an interesting character to watch. I will never like him. But both Alicent and Rhaenyra, we know how they started, we saw how they started, and until they do something truly irredeemable, I will fight for them with every breath. And it kill me that they're on opposite sides. And yes, the Dance of the Dragons has well and truly begun. This episode was fantastic. I think it really showed you Alicent at her truth, that she is trying to do the right thing. She's trying to keep her children safe, to keep everybody safe, to try and keep peace. She's desperately holding out to some hope that there can be a way without bloodshed. There is not going to be a way without bloodshed. And I definitely think we saw her picking at her nails again because she's getting stressed. I love this show, and I love this show because the characters and the plot and the events are so rich. You can find elements drawn from real history, but these characters are so three-dimensional. They make decisions that have you screaming, why the fuck did you do that? They make decisions that you're like, oh, I love you for doing that, but it's gonna bite you in the... And I love this show. The next episode is going... well, we will see Rhaenyra. I wonder if it will be wholly around Rhaenyra in the way this one was wholly around Team Green, or what. I'm pretty sure when I was looking to see what the title of this episode was, that the next one is called The Black Queen, so she's going to obviously be declaring herself as the Black Queen, and then season 2, things are going to get wild. So yeah, this was a fantastic episode. A reminder that, as always, you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon, and thank you so much for watching.